Last night, while you were asleep, your brain staged an elaborate production. It built environments you have never visited. It cast people from your past in roles they would never play. It handed you problems with no solutions and chased you through corridors that kept changing shape. It made you feel genuine fear, genuine joy, genuine grief, and then it deleted almost all of it before you opened your eyes. You probably remember fragments, a face, a feeling, the sense of something important that is already dissolving. For most of human history, people believed those fragments were messages. From gods, from ancestors, from some layer of reality more real than waking life. Today, most people dismiss them as neural noise. Random firing, meaningless static, the brain screensaver running while the rest of you recharges. Both of these answers are wrong. And the truth is stranger and more useful than either. What your brain is actually doing while you dream has taken neuroscientists decades to begin to understand. And what they have found suggests that dreaming is not a side effect of sleep. It is one of the primary reasons sleep exists at all. Start with what is physically happening in the brain during the phase of sleep when dreaming occurs. This phase is called REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement. It was discovered in 1953 by researchers Eugene Aserinsky and Nathaniel Kleitman at the University of Chicago, who noticed that sleepers went through cyclical periods where their eyes moved rapidly beneath their eyelids and their brain activity looked, on an EEG, almost identical to the brain activity of someone who was wide awake. During REM sleep, something strange happens to the brain's chemistry. The prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for logical thinking, planning, and critical evaluation, goes largely offline. At the same time, the amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, and the hippocampus, the memory consolidation hub, become highly active. The dreaming brain is essentially a brain with the logic filter removed and the emotional and memory systems running at full power. This is not an accident. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker at the University of California, Berkeley, who has spent decades studying sleep and its functions, describes REM sleep as a form of overnight therapy. His research found that during REM sleep the brain replays emotionally significant memories from the day, but does so in a neurochemical environment that is uniquely low in noradrenaline, the stress chemical. This means the brain can revisit upsetting, threatening, or confusing experiences without the full physiological stress response those experiences triggered when they first occurred. The dream, in this model, is the process of emotional processing. Your brain is taking the raw, charged material of your waking experience and running it through a stress-free environment, trying to extract the meaning and strip away the emotional sting. You wake up from a good night's sleep feeling clearer about things that troubled you, more resilient, better able to face what frightened you. This is not coincidence. This is REM sleep doing its job. But Walker's research also found something darker. People who are deprived of REM sleep specifically, while allowed to sleep normally in other stages, show dramatically increased emotional reactivity the following day. They become more anxious, more irritable, more easily overwhelmed. The brain without REM sleep is a brain carrying unprocessed emotional weight from the previous day, and the day before, and the day before that. The emotional backlog compounds. This is why people who are going through the hardest periods of their lives often dream the most vividly. The brain is working overtime on material that urgently needs processing. So what are dreams actually made of? Where does the content come from? Psychologist Rosalind Cartwright at Rush University Medical Center spent decades studying the relationship between waking life and dream content, particularly in people going through major emotional upheaval like divorce. Her research found that dream content is not random. It is highly selective. The brain specifically chooses to rehearse and recombine experiences that are emotionally unresolved, socially complex, or physically threatening. The dreaming brain is a problem solver, but it is solving a specific category of problem, the ones your waking, logical mind does not know how to handle. This explains something you have probably noticed. You rarely dream about the tasks you completed successfully or the situations you navigated confidently. You dream about the conversation that went wrong, the relationship you cannot figure out, the situation you are afraid of but have not yet faced, the unfinished business. The dreaming brain takes these unresolved scenarios and runs simulations. It generates variations, tries different outcomes. It puts you in proximity to the things that frighten you, without the real-world consequences, to build something very close to emotional immunity. Neuroscientist Antti Rauvansuo at the University of Turku in Finland developed what he calls the threat simulation theory of dreaming. His research analyzed the content of thousands of dreams and found that an overwhelming majority contained threatening events. Being chased, falling, being attacked, being unprepared for something important, losing someone, failing publicly. Rauvansuo argues that this is not coincidence. Dreaming evolved, in his view, precisely as a biological rehearsal system for threatening situations. The ancient brain that could simulate danger and run through responses to it was better prepared when real danger arrived. Your nightmares, in this framework, are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are your brain's most intensive training sessions. But dreaming does something else that goes beyond emotional processing and threat simulation. It also does something that no other mental state can quite replicate. It makes unexpected connections. During waking consciousness, thinking tends to be constrained and linear. You follow logical chains. You stay in established categories. The prefrontal cortex keeps you on the rails. But in REM sleep, with the prefrontal cortex offline, the brain is freed from its usual associative constraints. It connects things that would never connect during waking thought. Distant memories link to recent experiences. Emotional states blend with intellectual problems. A conversation from last week merges with an image from childhood and suddenly illuminates something about a decision you face today. This is the origin of the creative breakthroughs that people have famously attributed to dreams. Chemist August Kekulé claimed to have discovered the ring structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake eating its own tail. Paul McCartney reported hearing the melody of Yesterday fully formed in a dream. These are not mystical occurrences. They are the natural output of a brain running without its usual filters, ing connections that waking logic would have dismissed before they could form. Neuroscientist Ulrich Wagner at the University of Lübeck ran controlled experiments on this. His team gave subjects a mathematical problem that could be solved by a lengthy method or by a much simpler insight that required recognizing a hidden pattern. After a night of sleep, subjects were nearly 3 times more likely to discover the shortcut than those who had not slept. The sleeping brain, it seems, is actively working on the problems you give it before bed. This is why some of the most productive thing you can do before sleeping is to spend a few minutes clearly identifying a problem you are trying to solve. Not anxiously turning it over, but clearly articulating it. Your dreaming brain, in some measurable sense, will work on it while you sleep. So what does all of this mean for how you interpret your dreams? It means that the content of your dreams is not random noise, but it is also not a coded message that requires symbolic decoding in the way that older dream interpretation traditions suggested. The dreaming brain is not sending you a telegram. It is running a process, and the content of that process is determined by what is most emotionally alive and unresolved in your waking life. The recurring dream is the most revealing artifact of this. When the same theme or scenario returns night after night, it is a signal that the brain's processing system has encountered something it cannot resolve. The same file keeps being opened, worked on, and returned to the queue unfinished. A recurring dream is not a haunting. It is a help request. The most useful question to ask about any vivid or recurring dream is not what does this symbol mean, but what in my waking life is unfinished, threatening, or emotionally unprocessed that my brain might be trying to work through. That question will get you further than any dream dictionary ever written. You spend roughly 2 hours every night in this state. Your brain uses that time to process what hurt you, rehearse what frightens you, and connect what confuses you. It is not running a screensaver. It is running maintenance on the most complex system in the known universe. The fragments you wake up with are the visible surface of that work. They are not the message. They are the evidence that the work is happening. And the work, every single night, is your brain trying to make you more capable of being alive tomorrow than you were today.